parents at a school in Norfolk say that pupils as young as 7 years old are being taught that they can be pangender by their teachers. After seeing their children's lesson plans, which showed they were being taught about contested gender identity beliefs, parents launched complaints to the Church of England school's leaders. Of course, it's a Church of England school. The controversial material was provided to the school by Educator Solutions, a trading arm of Norfolk County Council. One outraged parent with 2 children at the same school claims the material is being taught without parental consultation. Joining me now is Christian Concern's Head of Education, Steve Beegoo. Steve, thank you for joining us. It's been a while since we've chatted. I hope you're well. What is going on here?
Well, Calvin, this is just another example of what's happening up and down the country in secondary schools, but also primary schools, where the gender identity ideology is being taught freely to children even as young as 7, as in this instance here. And it's all kind of happened since relationship, sex and health education has become mandatory in schools. Well, in primary schools, relationships education has become mandatory. But what schools have done is they've included all sorts of gender ideology and other sexualizing content in the curriculum because they've essentially been groomed by many organizations that have flooded them with resources and told them, you've got to teach this stuff to really young children to be protecting them from harm. When really what's happening, I'm afraid, Calvin, from all the many scores and scores of parents and teachers that we've been in contact with, what's really happening is young children are being harmed and damaged by this confusing ideology that children are being taught.
What I don't understand, Steve, though, is why. I mean, first of all, what on earth is pangender? And why do primary school kids need to be taught it?
What on earth is pangender? Well, I looked this up again just to kind of catch up with the latest definition of what pangender means. And one of the definitions said it is someone who has all genders.
All 2 of them?
The infinite number of genders, they own them all. And that's what to be pangender is. Imagine teaching young children about these terms, these contested terms, and talking about, children, you could be non-binary, you might be cis. But essentially, you need to consider you might have been born in the wrong body. Teaching children these kinds of issues when they're at that stage where they have much going on in their imagination, and actually they need the adults around them to affirm them in truths, biological truths about who they are, and not say to them, do you know what, children, you can create yourself. You can come up with your own ideas of who you are, and actually you're the best person to understand who you are, children, to start from that perspective. The adults around are abrogating their responsibility, and organisations have flooded them with these resources. So it means that thousands of children, as they're working their way through school, become more and more confused and more aligned with the idea that they need to change their body, change physically who they are, and go for surgery and all this kind of thing, because they've been groomed since they were very young.
Steve, it's baffling to me that this anti-Christian teaching is going on in Church of England schools, but that's another topic altogether. I think it's very sinister that these children are being taught this without parental consent, without parental consultation. Why do you think that is? Why are parents being left out of this?
If parents knew what was going on, they would be complaining in droves. Now, the government has said you should be consulting schools about the detail of the content of your curriculum, but they know that the content of the curriculum that they've been given to be used by from organisations or even from their local authority, which is the case here in this Norfolk school, they know that there are contested issues inside those curriculums, and they know if they are totally transparent with parents about this, there will be uproar. In fact, there is uproar, But there are some parents who are brave enough, like the parent in this case here, to actually complain to the school, to go in and have meetings, to attempt to educate the school as well about the dangers and the harms that could be being brought to children. But many parents end up fearful and silent because they think, well, what can I do about this? Well, I would encourage you, if you are a parent, find out what is going on in your school. Ask them to be really transparent about their relationships education and what they are including in their relationships education. And I'm sad to say that in many instances you will find terms like pangender coming up in the content of what the children will be being taught. Now, it's kind of come in through a kind of anti-bullying, diversity, inclusivity agenda, but a lot of these things have been mixed in and have confused all sorts of children because they've been being introduced to 7-year-olds. Imagine asking a 7-year-old, are you a boy or a girl, or are you something else? Because you could be. Imagine asking that to children. That's what's going on up and down this country.
It's ridiculous. I think that was very sound advice, though, Steve, for parents to ask. Not assume that it's not being taught in your child's school. Ask. See the curriculum, what's going on. Steve Beegoo, Head of Education at Christian Concern, thank you so much for your time and thank you for everything that Christian Concern is doing.